Hello. Today we will be talking about trigonometric ratios. In similar right triangles, certain ratios of the sides are constant. And this is because the triangles are similar, so the sides are proportional. And proportional, remember, means in the same ratio. These ratios that we're talking about here are called the trigonometric ratios. Trigonometry is a branch of math that studies relationships between the lengths and sides and angles of triangles. Trigonometry studies the relationships involving the lengths of sides and size of the angles in triangles. And looks like it kind of ran into that same word. Looks like it ran into the word sides. All right, before we can actually talk about those ratios, we need to talk about how to label triangles, and this is very, very important, especially those of you who interchange uppercase and lowercase letters. It's really important that for this we don't. Uppercase and lowercase letters for trigonometry mean entirely different things. Unless labeled otherwise, the right angle is generally labeled as capital C. We have an angle A down here. Side A is straight across the triangle from angle A, so this would be side A. Angle B, we have angle A, angle C, so this must be angle B up here. Side B is straight across the triangle from angle B, and it is lowercase. Notice that the sides are lowercase and the angles are uppercase. Opposite angle C would be then side C. Uppercase are always angles, lowercase are always sides. All right, these three words right here, sine, cosine, and tangent, are the trigonometric ratios. These are defined as the following. Sine is abbreviated S-I-N, and we say that as sine, not sin, and it always refers to an angle. So sine of angle A is defined as being the opposite side divided by the hypotenuse. Cosine is abbreviated COS, and cosine of an angle, cosine of A, is defined as being the ratio of the adjacent side over the hypotenuse. And the last one, tangent, abbreviated TAN, tangent of an angle, is defined as being the opposite side over the adjacent side. Now in here we have opposites, hypotenuse, adjacent, and they're all in different orders in different places. So there is a mnemonic that you can use to help you remember this, and it is so, ka, toa. Sine is opposite over hypotenuse. It's the first letter, opposite over hypotenuse. Cosine is the adjacent over hypotenuse, ka. Toa, tangent, is opposite over adjacent. So tangent is opposite over adjacent. I think about it this way, and if we were in school, Mrs. Walker would show you that she thinks about it this way. So she writes her so that way. So, ka, C-A-H, and toa. So her way shows you kind of the relationship that it is sine and opposite over hypotenuse, that the opposite is on top of the hypotenuse. Cosine, adjacent over hypotenuse. Tangent, opposite over adjacent. Whichever way you choose to remember this, that's perfectly fine. Whatever works for you. Let's take a look at some problems here. Looking at this one, given triangle CAT. So here's this triangle down here, triangle CAT. Now, I told you up at the top that angle C was the right angle. Angle C is the right angle if they don't specify another right angle. So this one down here, the A, is the right angle. And when we want to find these, I want the sine of angle T. So angle T is right here. Sine is opposite over hypotenuse. So from this angle T, opposite is straight across the triangle on the opposite side of the triangle, so that's 5. And the hypotenuse is 13. So the sine of T is 5 over 13. Cosine of T. Cosine is adjacent over hypotenuse. So adjacent means adjacent leg. And remember, adjacent means next to. So one of these legs, it's not the 5, that was the opposite. So the adjacent is the leg that's right next to it, 12, over hypotenuse, right here, there's the hypotenuse, 13. The last one, tangent of T. Tangent is opposite over adjacent. So from T, opposite straight across the triangle, 5, over the adjacent side, adjacent leg. The hypotenuse is adjacent, but it's the hypotenuse. So we want the adjacent leg, that's got to be 12. That's from angle T. Now, let's look at what if we were talking about angle C. So up here, angle C, this one this time, sine, again, opposite over hypotenuse. From angle C, the opposite side, though, is straight across the triangle. That would be 12 over the hypotenuse, still 13. Cosine of C, the adjacent leg to C, the leg that's next to the C, that would be this 5, over the hypotenuse, 13. Tangent is opposite over adjacent. Opposite, 12, over adjacent, 5. All right, now, before we go any farther, you need a calculator. Please pause the video, run and get a calculator real quick. I mean that. Pause that video, go get a calculator. You cannot do these problems without a calculator. Okay, and yes, you heard me get up. I had to go get mine. I didn't have mine with me. I have to show you some things about the calculator. You may have to pause this video so that you can do the things that I'm doing on the calculator. Make sure you get the same answers, that type of thing. Watch the button pushes, etc. The first thing that you need to do on your calculator is you need to go to the mode. And the mode is right here. Hit mode. Your calculator needs to be set on degrees. If you don't have it on degrees, so if it's set on radians right now, you need to go down here, arrow over, get the cursor flashing on degrees, and hit enter. Must be on degrees. If your calculator is not on degrees, you will get the wrong answer. Make sure your calculator is set on degrees. Then I'm going to quit, so second mode, and I get back to a home screen. When we're looking at these problems down here on the bottom, we want to find the tangent of 38 degrees. The sine, cosine, and tangent buttons are right here in this row right here. See, sine, cosine, tangent. We want the tangent of 38 degrees, so we'll just type in tangent 38. You do not have to type the degree symbol because your calculator, see it up here? Some calculators may have it written up here, some don't. It tells you it's in degrees. So we're all good here. Close the parentheses there. Then hit enter. And we have 0.78128. I asked you to go to 4 decimal places. So this is 0.7813 because that 8 is going to make that 2 round up. Let's take a look at the next one. The sine of 47. Please don't say sin. Please, this is sine of 47. So here's the sine button. Sine 47. Close the parentheses. Hit enter. And we have 0.731. And that 5 is going to make that 3 round up. So this is 0.7314. And the last one here, cosine 87. Go ahead and do that one on your own. Write your answer down. Let's see if we agree. I got cosine of 87 is 0.0523. Do you agree? If these are not working for you, it would be helpful if you could take a picture of that screen and email it to either me or Mrs. Walker, and we can see if we can figure out what the issue is with your calculator. All right, let's take a look at solving some problems now. Don't put your calculator away. You're going to need it. All right, now down here we are going to solve for x to the nearest thousandth. That's the 0.001. Here's tenths, hundredths, thousandths. So we're going to go to 3 decimal places. All right, up here on the top of your page, I want you to write however you're going to remember SOHCAHTOA. I use this way. Mrs. Walker uses this way. Whichever way you want to remember it, put it up there and just get in the habit of writing it at the top of every paper that you do this trigonometry stuff on. It'll help. All right, when we look at this one, what you want to do is you want to look at the angle that you are given. From this 42, here's the hypotenuse. That's straight across from the right angle. From this 42, across the triangle, straight across the triangle, there's your opposite side. That means this 12 down here, that has to be the adjacent side. And the sides that we have information on are the opposite and adjacent. So when we look at this, which one of these guys has opposite and adjacent in it? An O and an A. Oh, right there. TOA, but don't write TOA down. This is tangent, and we'll set this up as the tangent of the angle, 42 degrees, equals the opposite side, x, over the adjacent side, 12. Now we need to solve for x. And to solve for x here, we're going to multiply both sides by 12. That's going to give us x equals 12 tangent 42. Now we're going to go zap that in the calculator. So let's come over here, and you can type it into your calculator exactly as written, 12. You do not have to put a multiplication symbol here. You can type it exactly as written. Your calculator will do that for you. Tangent 42. Please close the parentheses here. It's not necessary right now that you close the parentheses, but later on it will be. So it's important that you get in the habit of closing off those parentheses. So you don't have to worry about when you need it and when you don't. If you always close the parentheses, you're good to go. 12 tangent 42, hit enter. And here we go, 10.80, and we want to round to 3 decimal places, so that 8 is going to make that 4 round up, and we have that x equals 10.805. That's the answer right there. That's x. All right, put the calculator aside, and let's take a look at the next one. Again, start with the angle that you're given. Angle that you're given is 37. Here's the hypotenuse. Straight across the triangle is opposite. Then the leg that's next to that angle, there's the adjacent. We don't have any information on this opposite side, so we don't need it. We have adjacent and hypotenuse. So we look up here and we need an A and an H. A for adjacent, H for hypotenuse. There it is right there. C-A-H. That's cosine. So we say the cosine of the angle, 37, equals the adjacent side, x, over the hypotenuse, 17. We're going to solve for x, so let's multiply both sides by 17. That 17 then comes up here. We have x equals 17 cosine of 37. Go to your calculator, and we're just going to type this in exactly as written. 17 cosine, here's the cosine button, cosine 37. Again, close the parentheses. And we get 13.577. There's x. Okay, a couple of comments before we go any farther. You have some required steps that you must show on your homework and that you must show on a quiz or a test. You must show the initial setup. You must show solving for x, and then you can give the decimal answer. These are your required steps. Not showing all of those steps will not get you full credit on a homework or on a quiz or a test. You must show the steps. Let's take a look at the next one. From this 71. All right, we have, oh gosh, what's this x? That's straight across. That's the opposite side. And then we also have this 10. Is that the adjacent or is that the hypotenuse? It's the hypotenuse. The adjacent side is a leg. It's one of the ones that makes the right angle. So the hypotenuse is straight across from the right angle. we have opposite and hypotenuse here. If we look, opposite and hypotenuse is right here. That's sine. So we'll set this up. Sine of the angle. It is always sine, cosine, tangent, or of the angle. So the angle equals the opposite side, x, over the hypotenuse, 10. Multiply both sides by 10. We have x equals 10 sine 71. Type that up in your calculator. 10 sine 71. We have 9.455. All right. Let's take a look at this next one down here, number 6. From this 40, this x, that's the hypotenuse. Notice again, it's across from the right angle. And this 21, is that opposite or is that adjacent? It's the opposite side. We're going straight across the triangle. Opposite and hypotenuse. Look up at the top, opposite and hypotenuse. That's sine. Sine of 40 degrees, sine of the angle, is the opposite side, 21 over x. Now this one's different than all three up here. All three up here had x over a number, x over a number, x over a number. So it was real easy. You could just multiply by whatever was in that denominator. This one's harder. This one, because the x is in the bottom, we're going to have to put that sine 40 over 1, and we're going to have to cross multiply. So we'll have x sine 40 equals 21 times 1, or 21. Now we can divide out by this sine 40. I don't like to write. Some of you guys like to write it. So I'll put it in there for you to see it this first time. When we divide by sine 40, this left side, that leaves us with x. The right side, 21 divided by sine 40. Okay, couple ways to do this on your calculator. One, if you have one of the newer calculators that has the fraction button, you can do that. That would be alpha F1, which is right up here, this y equals, and then choose the number 1, the numerator over denominator, and you can just put this in, 21 over sine 40, close the parentheses please, hit enter, and we get 32.670. 32.670. If your calculator does not have a fraction button, that's okay. Just do it as divide. So 21 divided by sine 40, close the parentheses, and you'll get the same thing. So whichever way is easiest for you, you can go ahead and do that. All right, let's look at this next one. From this 10, from the angle, this 8 is the opposite side. The x is adjacent. So we have opposite and adjacent. That's tangent. Tangent of the angle, 10 degrees, is the opposite side, 8 over x. If we cross multiply here, you can either write this over 1 or you can imagine that it's over 1. Cross multiply x, tangent 10 equals 8. Divide out the tangent of 10. 8 divided by tangent 10. Zap that guy in your calculator. I like to do just the division because it's less button pushes, but if you like the fraction, you can set up the fraction. Either way is fine. And we get 45.370. Okay, a couple of things that I want to talk to you about. If you see this and you like it, you may use it. If it bothers you, stay with the cross multiplying. Notice when we have the variable on the bottom, if the variable is on the bottom, skipping this step right here, basically we just switch places with the x and the tangent 10. So x is 8 divided by tangent 10. The numerator, that 8, stayed the same. We just swapped places with the x and the tangent 10. Likewise, over here, if that x is on the bottom, you can just swap places. X and sine 40, they switched places. It only works that way if the x is in the denominator. If you like it, use it. If you don't, by all means, stay cross multiplying. These are your required steps. This one, and this one. That step's optional. So the initial setup, solving for x, and then the answer. Let's look at the last one on this page. From this 81, we have the hypotenuse and adjacent. Adjacent and hypotenuse. Go back, look up at the top. What has adjacent and hypotenuse in it? Don't say cos. It's not cos, it's cosine. Cosine 81 equals adjacent 9 over hypotenuse x. Okay, here's that shortcut thing again. If you recognize it, if the x is in the bottom, then you can just swap places with these two guys. So x equals 9 divided by cosine 81. If that bothers you, go back to cross multiply. 9 divided by cosine 81 is 57.532. And there we go. We're going to stop here for today. Hold on, don't pack up, don't shut off this video yet. We are sitting right here right now. 6.9, day 1, trigonometric ratios. That's what this video was. Your homework for tomorrow is 6.9, day 1, pages 17 through 20. Please set up when you're solving these problems, set it up. Show those required steps. The setup, the solving for x, and then the answer. Again, if you have any issues, please email me or Mrs. Walker, and we'll try and straighten it out for you via email. Thank you very much. Hope to see you soon.